So this is the part where I center and presence myself. There's no one in the chat yet, but I can feel my heart racing. It's always a really interesting experience getting on the camera. But I don't know, I've been thinking for the last couple weeks that I wanted to make a little video, and I actually like the live streams because they actually, is my mic working? Check, check. It looks like my mic's working. All right, Rodrigo's here, so we can start. Can you guys hear me all right? Can you hear me? The market is driving us crazy. Cool. Yep, mic works. All right. It's always hard to tell. Check, check. Well, hello, internet friends. It's fun to see all you popping into the chat. I've done a handful of live streams towards the end of last year, and a lot of them I was painting and talking philosophy, and that's really been my happy place for the last couple years. So that's what I was wanting to bring you guys in on. But I recognize that there's so much happening in the world, and why not hang out together? Why not, yeah, kind of see what we think is going on. I'm losing the chat window. You'll have to bear with me. I'm kind of like a, here we go. Here's the little chat window. I'm kind of a streaming newbie. There we go. Okay, got the chat. Yeah, the Trump meme coin. There's just so much crazy stuff. And believe it or not, even though I haven't really been engaged with crypto as a trader for the last like over a year, I still can't help but follow it on a day-to-day basis. There's still a few discords that, well, one in particular that I skulk around in, and I can't help but pull up charts and just see if I can make heads or tails of what's going on. So I guess that's my plan here. Yeah, so welcome to Uncomplication. It's been a while since I looked at crypto charts, and I will just kind of do what I do. I'm just going to process what I see, what I'm thinking, feeling, doing, and we'll go from there. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Trying to find a way to make this window stay, but maybe that's asking too much. This is some good watching right here. All right, OBS had the chat window. I want you to stay in here. All right, well, I am sorry. I'm not going to be able to see your chats. I will pop in from time to time and see. I'm a newbie to OBS. Let's see here. Okay, well, you can hear me, but I can't hear you. I'll re-kerfoodle that here in a second. But all right, friends, yeah, let's dive in. Let's take a look. The thing that was kind of like perking my ears up lately is I've had a bunch of views on that original Wyckoff distribution video. It actually broke 1 million views, which I was really excited about. And then I thought to myself, that's like any porn video on the homepage of Pornhub has probably got like 25 million views. So got to keep things in perspective. What are people's real priorities? So 1 million views on that original Wyckoff video. And since it's been a while since we Wyckoffed together, I figured we could start there. So the thing that made me want to get on here and do another video is that I've had people reaching out to me in comments and on Facebook and Instagram, these different places, sending me their charts and sending me their ideas, and drawing a lot of Wyckoff schematics. And what I thought to myself was, just like they say when your grandma is calling you up asking if you're invested in XYZ, it's time to get out of XYZ. And when everyone on the street is talking Wyckoff, maybe what's the contrarian sentiment to Wyckoff fever? I do have the chart up here for Bitcoin. I've got it. This is Binance. This is on the daily, and I was in here drawing different. Let's see here. Boy, I'm rusty, huh? Yeah, drawing some different chart patterns on here and thinking about how it lines up with world events and what's going on. But, the big thing that I've learned in crypto, if anything, is that without fail, it will zig when you expect it to zag. That, in a way, one of the best indicators is what I would say the generalized sentiment is. So if you just did a YouTube search for Bitcoin or crypto and just stack up what all of the video titles are saying, and then what's the contrarian view to that? That's where my mind has been, because one thing that I've recognized is, I actually used to have quite a bit of fear, and I still do, quite a bit of fear coming in here and sharing ideas and sharing information, because it seems like the market movers, the big players, the movers and shakers, the ones that profit off of every candlestick and every wick, they have a vested interest in a population that is misinformed. And I actually heard recently, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's an interesting story, that game of werewolves. I know that they've made kind of like a card game that's Ultimate Werewolf, something like that. But the original version of that, where you're a werewolf and you have villagers, and there's some small set of werewolves that at night can open their eyes and see each other, and all the villagers are kept in the dark, that was actually developed. I don't know what the university was, but it was a sociology major, someone doing a thesis on how an informed minority will outmaneuver an uninformed majority. And so the way that I look at crypto these days is that it is a very powerful place for people. I'm generalizing here, but people I know who have bought in early and have had their lives changed in big and small ways. And actually the big stories, the big change are actually some of the saddest stories. But I do have a few friends in particular that, they've just been buying Bitcoin for the last several years, maybe the last 5 to 7 years. And they're doing great, and they've got this long view, the zoomed out perspective, and they're not worried about the day to day. They're just, they believe in it. They believe in the space. And so they're much better off than had they just taken that money and put it in a bank, that kind of thing. So there's those people. And then there are the hobbyists, or I'll say the enthusiasts. So the people that are on YouTube on a daily basis and are trying to follow along and figure it out. And I would even include myself in this category. I have been tricked and fooled and, shaken loose more times than I can count, to the point where even with the apparent knowledge or the apparent concepts or core fundamentals, I think anyone who is actually hanging on to the roller coaster is going to get bucked a bit. And so as I look at this chart and I really think about it, it's obvious, right? And I feel like one of the things that I did want to talk about a bit is that, tomorrow, tonight is the 19th of January, but tomorrow it feels like the rules are going to change so, I was going to say fundamentally, that it's really hard to make predictions for the future based on the past. It's like the future we have now is not the future we had a few years ago. And so as I look at crypto in the space, and Trump launching a meme coin, and with 80% of the holdings, and watching those candle wicks go up and down, and I don't know what the total volume and the amount of profit that has been generated by the sale of that meme coin, but it's like, you know, these games are now being condoned. You know, it's like for crypto enthusiasts, it's exciting because probably the biggest fear in the last couple of years has been regulation, or are they going to take it away? Is something going to come in and, you know, put a cap on this? And instead, it almost feels like it's the exact opposite. But that also means that the danger is like 10x, 100x. Yeah, I feel that where it was a crooked circus that had a few players, now it's becoming like the whole tent extends over all of us. And I don't think that the fundamentals that Wyckoff taught back in the early 20th century have changed. I think that the same market dynamics still apply, but I think that the rules are so different now that it remains to be seen. And one of the things, you know, I mentioned earlier that I have a Discord group that I like to follow, and the thing that I really love about that group is that they're very balanced, they're very educated, and they are forward with what their criteria are for entering or exiting a position. And so it's that waiting for confirmation and looking for a specific strategy to play out one way or the other. And so when I look at this, I'm just wondering, and I really wish I could get my chat up. Let me see if I can re-kerfoodle this one more time. I've got my OBS studio here, and I can't find my chat. But I'm really curious what y'all are saying. Window. Docs, chat, okay. Boom, there we go. Okay, so I can see chat when I pop over to OBS. XRP. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'm just kind of following along with what you guys are talking about. But what I wanted to do, why I want to check in with the chat, is I feel like when I have conversations with various people in my life that are interested in crypto, invariably the prediction matches the desired outcome. And that's kind of obvious. But if you talk to someone who is invested in crypto or has been buying, they will tell you 100 compelling reasons why it's going up and up and up, and why, you know, this is just phase one of a much bigger market cycle, and you can get that sentiment, that kind of validating basis for why they feel that. If, on the other hand, people are thinking like, this is the top, this is, you know, it's going down, and they probably either aren't holding or they've been selling, they've been taking profit, and they can give you 100 good reasons why it's going down. And so as you look across the space, one of the questions that I always ask myself is, this person talking, what is their bias? What is their vested interest? And a lot of the time, the people that are shouting the loudest about why this is the future, why this is going up, I'm thinking of like the Michael Saylors of the world. You know, these people are so materially invested in Bitcoin as a future and an outcome that for it to do anything other than go up is the end and ruin of their entire existence. So when I hear those people speak, I'm filtering my perception of what they're saying in that with that information. When I look at a news outlet, there's all kinds of different Bitcoin and crypto news outlets, and they'll have different predictions and different market sentiments. And again, the bias behind that information depends on the source, but by and large, those publications or those outlets, they are surviving because of the business of having people come back day after day after day, consuming their content, viewing the ads, etc. And so this whole little preamble here is just, when I come on here and I start saying anything at all, I want it to be recognized by myself first and foremost, but by you as well, that all of these ideas, all of these concepts, I could start drawing lines on the chart, etc., but they're going to reflect a bias that is coming from what, who I am, what I want to see, the future that I'm hoping to inhabit, and cutting that with the pros and cons or the counter arguments. And all of this, again, is just to say that it is such a knife edge from where we were and where we're going, that while I will go on here and I'll kind of talk about, when I look at this chart, what do I see, what do I think, but it's really fundamental to me that for people that do well in this space, I'm getting back to this whole point, they are either, or they have been, because again, I don't know what the future holds, but these people have been buying and holding and not paying attention, or the ones that are paying attention, they are looking for strategic and tactical moves that are predetermined. They know what their entry point criteria is or their exit point criteria is, and they are playing patterns, they're playing systems. They are not looking for speculative YouTube videos and then making large material buy or sell actions. Excuse me. I think that truly is the path to ruin, is not having your own biases known and looking for what the next piece of information is to try and make like a short-term, and I know this from experience. The reason why I know this is because I've been in the seat many times, that I think a lot of us have been, where I'll hear someone who I respect, who's very smart, say something that I'm like, wow, they're totally right, and I'm going to get on the side of that rightness, and then lo and behold, it doesn't play out that way, or it takes longer than I thought, or etc. So let's see what else people are saying. All of these jokes about, yeah. All right, so all of that preamble aside, I have to say that while I had a moment in the cryptoverse of, and again, 1 million views is like, it's not even top 1,000 porn video on any major porn site. I just think that's hilarious. Like the magnitude of, that knowledge actually spreading or whatever, 1 million views in a crypto video, woo. But, that moment in time was a different moment. And what I really see, let's get to the chart here and let's just kind of talk. This is kind of my core thesis, I guess, when it comes to crypto. And I've talked about it a couple times in some of my in my painting live streams that I was doing. I think that there is, and this chart is so messy. Let me get to kind of a nicer backdrop for my drawings. So I think that what we are witnessing in crypto is, right before our eyes, the evolution of an asset class, of a market. And there is this concept, I just called it peak evolution, and peak meaning like the top of a cycle, and what does it look like? And you can see this in crypto across pretty much any cryptocurrency, any project, any coin, that when it is a small cap, when it is a small just a small market cap, there is a peak that we see again and again and again and again. And it doesn't really matter what the currency is, what the asset is. Bitcoin did this, Ethereum did this, ADA did this. You can go down this whole list and you can scroll back to the beginning and you can see the first peaks look something like this. They are, just kind of a flat line. Things are trading for 0.00001 cents or whatever. And then all of a sudden people start hearing about it, and it kind of has this little rise, and then it peaks, and then it kind of has a few, false retrace rallies. I think people are trying to get back up, and then it goes down to just nothing. And then, it is cyclical, and Bitcoin is the sun, and all the other little planets orbit around it. So this is kind of like wave one or cycle one. And I would wager that if you went and looked at Trump coin, same kind of thing. Trump, or whatever companies that he has that held it, and 80% of it, and then it has this moment in the sun, and then it all gets sold off, and it's this very sharp peak, steep up, steep down. The next phase that we see, and you can see this beautifully in the Bitcoin chart, is, okay, there's a bigger market cap the next time around, which means it takes more inflows and outflows for it to make that next magnitude wave. And so everything's a little bit more insulated. So you don't just get the big run up and the crash down. There's more structure that kind of insulates it. And so if we look at Bitcoin, maybe 2017, that cycle, we have, and I'm going to draw them about the same size, even though obviously it was a much higher dollar amount. You get something that kind of has like the classic 5 waves up, and then kind of comes back down. And let's actually go look. I'm not just going to be a dummy here and pretend that I remember exactly what each of these cycles look like. Let's see, the BLX was giving me a little bit of trouble last time, but okay, here we go. And I know everyone likes to scream like, you got to put it on the log chart, dude. And I get it. The log chart is really useful for seeing a specific narrative or a specific view. But okay, so even in 2017, this is still what I would call that kind of first wave, big ups, and then a pretty hard crash back down. And that compared to what we had in 2021, 2021, where we did have a distribution event, and then an accumulation event, and then a distribution, redistribution. There's a lot of stuff on this chart. You can forgive it. But the point is, in this next phase where we went from really retail investors and even hobbyists at this point, this is pretty early on. The peak was this rise up and then the crash down. This next time around, the last bull cycle, if you want to call it that, we have institutions, large operators that are algorithmically trading, and a distribution that was so textbook. It's still kind of shocking to see, like, even in that, I brought this up, but this was that time period. This was that first video that I posted. And so there's so little noise in the signal that we saw this classic pattern drawn almost one-to-one. But it was very different. It was not the run up and the crash down that we see in smaller cap projects. This shows signs of sophistication. This shows signs of large operators working the patterns, working the system. And we had the distribution, accumulation, distribution, redistribution, and then the downslope. And so my whole thesis here is that in this current cycle, and it looks like this is what played out. It's been a while since I've been on this chart. But in this cycle, I think that we're seeing a next phase of evolution. It's very unlikely that we're going to see just this textbook distribution, accumulation pattern. We're still going to see distribution patterns. We're still going to see accumulation patterns. But the money that has been coming into the space is still retailer or still retail investor, trader dollars. There's still people buying and selling on Coinbase and these other consumer apps. But there's also this influx with the ETFs of large capital investments, and those move at a different pace. Those have a different volume thumbprint. And I think when I just think logically about where we're at, I feel like this time around, we're going to see a cycle, a market cycle that is still a cycle. It's still Wyckoffian in nature. It still has the profiting of those in the know against those that don't, the villagers and the vampires, or the werewolves. But the stakes are higher, the inflows and outflows are higher, and I think it's almost like the difference between this cycle and the previous cycle is the last cycle was driven by YouTube. This next cycle, I think, will be driven by the Wall Street Journal and those types of publications and those types of voices. It's a further maturing, but the same core principles are still at play. I think that right now, huge amounts of money are being sucked up by these ETFs and these opportunities for larger, family offices. And I should do research and see who's buying these ETFs. Who are the names of the families or the people, or the is it pension funds that are investing? Is it where is the actual inflows coming? But I think it's the same end result, just at a different scale. And in that peak evolution concept that I'm talking about, small cap coins, it can happen in a matter of days or even hours, that the thing shoots right up and comes crashing right back down. I think even the Trump coin is doing something like this right now. And then, phase two, you've got kind of more of a Wyckoffian motion. And now I think what we're seeing is, look to the stock market, look to other places where institutions are buying and trading, and it might be kind of like this march up and the bubble, and then the steep crash in concert with the other asset classes. If we look at like the .com bubble burst, or the 2008 recession, or the COVID recession, all of these things kind of moving together. But it's still Wyckoffian. It's still the same concept of the sentiment changes. Everyone's panicked. The world is ending. Everyone bails out, and all of those big operators, buy everything back and reset the spring for the next cycle. So all of this is just to say, I started off on this first chart where I had, the rather simplistic Wyckoff distribution concept mapped out. And this is the kind of thing that I've had a lot of people, I've just been aware of a lot of people, speculating. I've had some people send me charts, and I don't disagree with, the concepts still maintaining validity, buying climax, an automatic reaction, the show of weakness, upthrust after distribution. Those types of things, I think, are still the raw ingredients of the soup we're cooking. However, this whole rant just got started by the fact that with the inauguration of Trump tomorrow, and the fact that the president, or the president-elect of the United States, is promoting their own meme coin. Like I was saying earlier, the rules seem to have changed, and the only thing that I know for sure is to not pretend that I know anything for sure. It feels like we're so off the beaten path that, at least what I have elected to do is to witness, is to not be materially invested, is to not buy into a narrative strongly one way or another, so that I can sit back and be a dispassionate observer and I can learn. And maybe, yeah, I won't be taking any huge checks to the bank, but I also won't be crying any sad stories if my favorite narrative doesn't play out. And so I'm going to hop back over to the chat. I feel like, in a way, I'm just seeing the chat here. Oh, and Jay Pereira, thank you so much for the super chat. That is awesome. I appreciate it so much. You know, I've what I have done is, in my pause from crypto, I've really been focused on my business, which is art, my art business. And it's funny because I know that if I was staring at the charts and playing along, that I could have some stellar days, especially in the last 6 months. You know, there could have been these amazing days of, catching swing trades and seeing, a few $1,000s turn into, 10x that or whatever. And instead I'm looking at like the cost of goods on individual 8x10 prints, and like the margins are so small and it's such a small game, but that's a realm where my passion is aligned, and I have some semblance of stability in making this business work. Anyway, I'm just, I'm reading the chat here and people are asking questions about, my trades. Let's see, BF. Hey, Uncle, Uncomplication, care to explain why you bought the top and sold the bottom and you've remained bearish the last 2 years? I mean, I kind of disagree with that generalization. If I bought the top, it was in 2021, and I bought at like 47 after Elon Musk and Tesla bought into Bitcoin. And at the time, I was so gung-ho and just 100% in on Bitcoin as being Satoshi's vision for the future. And I knew in my soul that it would never be below that price again. And then I actually sold at the top. I sold around the time of my Wyckoff distribution video. And then I bought in again at the accumulation floor. And then I did sell prematurely. This is one of my like huge lessons that I think about often. And it really goes to show, when I think that I'm smarter than the system is when I am most likely to get bit. And so let's see, my chartistry here has definitely gotten dusty with lack of use. So, okay, in 2021, right here was a big moment of just like being an idiot, because this pattern here was like a little fractal repetition of this pattern here. And, we'd had this huge run up and we had the distribution, accumulation, and another distribution. And so I thought for sure that everything was going back down, to the point where I sold off somewhere in here. And so I didn't get to go on any of this journey. I just kind of watched as a grouchy bystander. And then I started buying again in April, or I just had a dollar cost average buy that was just running for months and months and months. And then, yes, I sold well ahead of this cycle. I've made videos, I've talked about it. I sold, it's embarrassing, but it's true. I sold around 30, right around in here. And the reason why I sold was what I thought, and again, this is the lesson that I've learned. I was following along, I was following the narrative, I was listening to people that were smarter than me, and I really felt like there was a longer pattern here that was going to happen before this was going to go back up. I knew it was going to go back up, but I thought that there would be a few more months. And I was just at a place, again, starting my business, where it made a lot of sense for me to get off the crypto roller coaster, because also I was trying to make YouTube videos, it's like a soul squishing experience. At least it has been for me. And so I just knew, I need to get off the ride and I need to focus. And so I sold here, and I haven't done anything since. I've just been watching. And it's, I definitely have moments where I feel foolish. I didn't sell everything, but I sold off enough to pay off some debt that I had on a home equity line of credit that, but that's my choice. That's my decision. I'm a big boy. That's what I decided to do. And I can live with the fact that I've just watched, this ride. I've only made like 1 or 2 videos in the meantime. And part of it is because, like I've said in a lot of this, what have I said in a lot of this? I think the thing that I have witnessed as a detached observer, and I'm not detached. I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, I have a bias in that I'm an idealist. Like, I know this about myself, and I believe it deep down. Like, the things that I choose to focus on, the energy that I put into the world, the people that I surround myself with, they are uplifting and energetic and growing, and that's just how I choose to view and see my life. And so with all that's going on in the world, even though I know that people are getting swindled and cheated and hurt, I've got more phishing emails in my inbox that I could count, and I've got, there's just scams coming out of the woodwork. I mean, in a way, the president-elect is running the same kind of, tokenized currency rug pull that we've seen a million times before. So like there's this environment where it feels like humanity is fucked. We're all shitty, like get what's yours and then get some more or whatever. And, if I'm bearish, if I seem bearish, it's not really bearishness as much as it's just a fundamental belief that humans are all right. That humans are good, that we're trying our best, that the world as it is right now is itself a cycle within a cycle within a cycle. And this is just what happens at this stage of the cycle. But the seeds of goodness, the seeds of beauty and art and caring about one another and not, robbing your neighbor because you saw someone else do it, and that's, like all of that, like, yes, that's happening everywhere, but this is just a cycle, and the heart of humans is such that with each new generation, I feel like there's the opportunity to reject what we internally know is wrong, or I don't know. There's some alignment that comes back into play. And I believe in that, and I believe in the art that I'm making and the story that I'm telling there as kind of like a medicine in the face of so much hurt and pain. And crypto, to me, when I really look at the chart and I see the conversation in the chat, I don't know that this is really helping people, and so I'm not bearish as much as I'm just like this might sound silly, and I hope it doesn't sound condescending, but it's like when you see your parent or your kids like playing too many video games or eating too much, garbage. It's just like my impulse is to just be a voice that says like, "Hey, have you gone outside? Have you stretched your legs? Have you hugged someone? Have you put some beautiful art into this world lately?" That's the message. So it's not bearishness for the sake of bearishness. And yes, I did sell early, and that was my choice. And I've used those funds to basically make this whole reality that I'm living in, my art studio and my printers and my, all the things that I'm doing. I chose that over crypto, and I don't regret it for a moment. I would rather have this existence that I'm living than some number in a balance somewhere. That's the idealist in me. So let's see. And BF, he needs some financial help. So I don't know, BF bro, when I see just like your shouting, like, okay, awesome. And yeah, I don't think I'm here for the benefit of people like BF. And I mean, you can keep trolling and saying whatever it is that you want, but that also is, I think, the energy of the space. You know, I'm not bearish. I see how people start treating each other, and I question if that's a space that, you know, I want to spend a lot of time in. And I don't know. So what's my thoughts on ETH? Yeah, let's talk about ETH. ETH is cool. And I have been, you know, if there's anything that's been kind of like tickling at me to say like, hey, maybe it would be wise to, you know, with all the attention you've been paying but no moves that you've been making, you know, is ETH an opportunity? You know, is there, and I will have to just silence the chat because, you know, too much volume. You know, is that an opportunity, or is that a place where some money could be made in the days and weeks ahead? And let's just jump over and look at ETH real quick. And here's my thoughts on ETH. So one of the things you'll see on this very messy chart is that with the fib retracements from the top of the 2021 November peak down to the bottom, which came in December or November of 22, if we draw our fib retracement lines, we're already up flirting with the 1.618. Okay, so just keep that in mind as we look at Ethereum, because, you know, Ethereum in the last cycle and cycles previous has been this lagging little brother, I guess, little sister. And it was really fun to watch Ethereum in the last market cycle because it did pretty much the same thing that Bitcoin did. It was just a few months behind. And because at the time it was a relatively smaller market cap, the relative gains and losses were more extreme. And this time around, the things that I'm curious about, you know, that I don't have the answers to, but I'm thinking about are, does Ethereum have enough competitors this time around that it will attenuate that little brother, little sister effect? XRP being a great example. If you look at the search volume for XRP, it's been going gangbusters the last couple months, last couple weeks certainly. And you know, are there more exciting things that people are talking about in the meme coins and all of these different places where my understanding, what I think I know about crypto is that Bitcoin becomes after a big crash, you know, in 2021, you know, big crash down, and everyone's selling out of everything, and all of these bags turn red, and everyone's upside down, whatever, you know, and it's just chaos, and it takes years for that to resettle. And then it's Bitcoin that starts making that slow, steady march back up. And so all the money's in Bitcoin. That's where people are investing, and that's where, you know, what people are watching. You know, there might be some people that are playing in altcoins, but predominantly Bitcoin sucks up all the BTD, Bitcoin dominance, good jubies. And then as the market cycle plays out, as Bitcoin goes up and people are profiting and the high tide lifts all boats, then these other adjacent projects look more and more interesting. And so the alt season is the time when Bitcoin has made it to a place where there's still speculation, there's still anticipation that it's going higher, but the retracement is such that people start selling out of Bitcoin and then moving that into other projects. And so the fact that Bitcoin has now, reached kind of a little local top and has done a little bit of a retracement, and we have seen other projects move. I was watching on Coinbase, not too long ago, and just seeing, the 30%er or the 40 or 50 or 60%er of the day, and it's not Ethereum. So the question that I have that I'm still kind of looking at here is, with Ethereum being back below the 0.618. So if we zoom out, we were just looking at the fibs on Bitcoin, and it was all the way up to the 1.618. Is ETH due for a breakout? And it's really hard for me to think of reasons why it wouldn't, other than the thought that I think that it should, and probably a lot of other people do as well. And I'm getting to the point where I don't really trust my own common sense analysis anymore. If everyone, and that's a generalization, but if the predominant sentiment is like, yo, ETH is gonna pop, then I would align myself with ETH not popping and something else popping, or nothing at all. So I think, this is a pretty flimsy answer, and it just reflects the truth of what I see here, is that Ethereum is either getting ready to do some tap dancing around the 0.702, and then potentially that same kind of a breakout to the 1.618 and doing its own kind of distribution moment. That's what I'm really kind of interested in. And again, in the Discord forum that I've been following along, it is one of the things that perks my ears up is when people are talking about their criteria for entries or exits. I'd be curious. I'm just going to look back at the chat. What do you guys think? What's your sentiment on ETH? Oh, looks like BF, you're getting more cuddly. I don't know why you'd be shocked that I was bearish, because my whole story in crypto, if there is one, is that I was so bought into crypto as being this space that was against the systems of oppression and the world finance, and it was a place where small agile teams were going to be able to build projects that could outcompete these big behemoths, and I just had so much belief in it that when I saw the transparency of market manipulation and institutionalization, that I don't think bearish is the right word. I think it's just like, I don't know, it's like when a band you like sells out. And their music is still pretty good, but it's like it just doesn't speak to you the same way that it did when they were underground playing local shows, and the front man wasn't now on cocaine doing talk shows and pissing on all the young early fans. Seems super cursed for ETH, just infinite down on the ETH BTC chart. Yeah, that's the other thing about ETH, is that in the last cycle I was buying ETH as a speculative token to trade. And then since then, I've actually tried to use Ethereum for the utility of it, NFTs, and that's the big one. I was doing some OpenSea NFTs, and it was just it was such a pain in the ass, and it was so expensive, and it was, just slow, that I think, if that was Ethereum's story, that it was the Bitcoin that had smart contracts and it was going to be the money, whereas Bitcoin was going to be the gold. This time around, I don't see that same level of excitement. Are NFTs even a thing anymore? Yeah. I don't know. That's the other thing. I was talking to one of my good friends a couple days ago. It's one of the things that inspired me to come on here and just kind of jaw for a little bit. But he and I were both scratching our heads a little bit, because in the last cycle, I heard so many more people talking about crypto. I was excited to talk about it, and it was something that was being talked about at poker nights, and people were whipping out their Coinbase holdings and talking about this or that NFT project, or it kind of had this almost counterculture feel to it. And in this cycle, I really haven't heard anything from the like on the street folks, which is why, again, with that kind of peak evolution, I'm calling it, I think this cycle is largely driven by the next echelon of money. I think it is big inflows coming from family offices and different investment brokerages, and this is where my like knowledge really runs flat. I don't know who buys ETFs at the volume that, or not the volume, but like the size of investment that we're seeing these inflows coming from. But I think that's where this cycle is predominantly being bolstered. And so again, I think the last cycle was driven by YouTube, and this cycle is likely driven by the Wall Street Journal and by kind of that bigger marketing campaign by large operators to get that next swath of investments in the door. And a rising tide raises all boats in a way. Like that's what I think smaller individual crypto enthusiasts have been wanting. I think it just comes with its own shadow, I guess. What the fuck is that squiggle on the chart? This one? Oh wait, where are we? I'm on the OBS studio. Wait, what squiggle are you talking about? George says, can you give a small explanation of why Theta and VET are, the two most serious and less volatile alts are constantly bleeding compared to the market movement? Well, I've talked about this a couple times before. My feeling is that one of the unfortunate realities of the crypto space is that we have the intermingling of a gambling environment with a consumer expo. It's like if you went to see the latest technologies at the Consumer Electronics Show and you were actively gambling and speculating, like the two don't really play very well together. And so I think that for the cryptos, the technology that actually has legs in the space, those aren't always one-to-one with it being a punchy investment vehicle, and perfect example, like the Trump coin, like there's no utility. It's purely driven by the personality, and that's what it is, and so those types of things are always going to have the bigger marketing engine behind them, and their only real utility is to make money for the personalities, or to make money for the proponents of the meme, or the people that kind of got there early. So I remember this guy in the crypto garden who he was like a former doctor or surgeon, and then he was like retired and living in South America, and he did like a year's worth of research to figure out what he thought was the absolute best technology to invest in the space. And I remember having some conversations with him about how the best technologies are not the most popular speculative investments. And so I guess that's my answer, because I don't know a lot about VET chain and Theta. And part of it is because my focus has been on the market side. And so the technology gets swept under the rug. The orange one. Oh, I was talking about, sorry. So someone said, what is that squiggle? And so this is the Bitcoin has already gone from, the last market cycle top. If we draw camera dead. Let me switch over to my other camera. I think I can do that. And this is probably a good sign that I should get off. I mean, how long do live streams go for? I feel like this has been a long one. Video. video capture device. And it's upside down. I'll just see if I can get myself back in the game. All right. And then I'll wind this down here, but I couldn't help but come on here and just share some ideas. So, okay, yeah, what is that orange squiggle? So Bitcoin, just looking at the Fib retracements from the last market cycle top to the bottom, we blew right through the 0.702. This is kind of that sweet spot zone. If you watch Blockchain Backer, like his opening video always kind of shows like the bouncing off the 702 and rocketing away. So that's kind of what Bitcoin did here. We busted through, we came back, we back tested these fibs, and then we shot up to the 1.618, and we were speculating on ETH and just looking at how relative to Bitcoin in that last cycle, we're below the 0.618. So this squiggle was to say, are we going to kind of come up here and start tap dancing around on these fibs and have, time to make a move up to the 1.618? And I don't know. But yeah, I guess if you just join the stream and that's like what is up on the chart, it's like, wait, what? Okay, guys, well, it has been, XRP thoughts. Yeah, let's talk about that one real quick, and then I'm going to bounce. And before I do want to share, I've talked a little bit about my art and my business, and there's a link in the description of this video. I just launched a prints site today that I'm really excited about. I've been doing all of my own prints here in the studio, and I have a web page set up where you can go and get a free print, a free 5x7 print, and you can get a larger size if you want. These are a few of the images of the probably like 300 paintings that I've done in the last couple years. And this to me kind of feels like releasing my first album. So I'm doing all the printing in-house, and I've got this whole production going where I'm shipping things, and my goal is to have hundreds and hundreds of people with my art in their homes. And the story behind it is, it's part of a story that we shared on this YouTube channel, but it's for me, going from the life that I had previously of running a technology company and then being fired from that company, getting into the crypto space, just really losing faith in a lot. And it was the self-work that I did that allowed me to rediscover who I was, so that I could get back to my art, so I could get back to spaces like this. And so, yeah, this video is sponsored by me. Go check out ryanstoverprints.com and get yourself some free art. I would love to have one of my images in your space. So I meant to do that earlier, not at the 2-hour mark of this video, it feels like. But okay, XRP. So, again, I keep talking about this kind of like peak evolution thing, and this is like it in a nutshell. So XRP the first time around, if you can see this, just a blast off to the moon, and then just as fast, like within a candle, this is the weekly. So we had 2 weeks, or 4 weeks up and then 4 weeks down, basically just up and down. And then in 2021, I was really interested in XRP in 2021, and again, Blockchain Backer, I think he's a really smart guy, and I know that he's had a lot invested in XRP, and so his analysis has been centered around XRP. If you really want to know about XRP, I would go there. I mean, I haven't watched his videos in a while, but I'm sure he's talking about it on a daily basis, and I think I've seen him be right more times than wrong, if that matters. But even in 2021, so this I would say is an even more, it didn't go as high, and I know there's a lot of disappointment, but this is that next kind of peak evolution. There's more kind of distribution and accumulation events. It's not just a run up and a run down. And so, I mean, all I can think of when I see this, just blast off like it found a spider under its toilet seat, is that, well, this is what I think, and it could be wrong, it could be right, but I have to think that at this point XRP is another step ahead in its evolution. And from the technical standpoint, and I don't know a whole lot about this, I'm just going off of what I've gleaned from other, so-called experts in the space, but it does have a network of users and utility with international bank transfer, and it really has always been designed to supply a known target customer and provide utility there. And it's got this kind of double-edged sword of the speculative asset or whatever. And so if I were looking at XRP and just drawing, random stuff on the chart, I would be looking at, 5 waves and then a retrace. I think we're mature enough with XRP that, it's not going to go to, someone said in the chat earlier, like XRP to $50, or I don't know what they said. But, I could see it going to, a few phases of this aligned with the big, elephant in the room is that tomorrow Trump becomes the president of the United States. And from my perspective, if you're a scientist and you've been running experiments for the last 100 years on humans and human evolution, it's time to kind of put those away as a volume and get ready to, start afresh. I heard recently that the medicine and science that was done prior to the widespread use of antibiotics means that science relates to a type of human that no longer exists. Maybe it exists in some places, but it's that kind of a change where people have changed enough, our diets have changed enough that it warrants a new study. And so that's kind of why I wanted to record this tonight, January 19th, right ahead of Trump's inauguration. I feel like it opens the door to a huge amount of opportunity for some, and it kind of takes the gloves off where, you can now get in the cage match and, win your fortune, but you could also die on the gladiator floor. I think that the risk-reward dial has probably been turned up by an order of magnitude, and I think there's going to be a lot of risk-taking by a lot of different types of entity, from individuals to organizations. And so, I drew this kind of squiggle here for XRP, and that's all to say that everything to the left of this cursor might have existed in a different world and in the future. What I am doing is I am witnessing, I am observing, and I am making art. And I guess I'm occasionally conversing and sharing ideas. But what I'm not doing is thinking that I know anything and making material bets. At least not ones that I'm not willing to lose. And to be clear, when I was engaged in crypto in 2021, I was making bets that I was not prepared to lose. And I am so thankful that I didn't. I'm so thankful that I got off the ride when I did. And it made me very hesitant to make the same types of decisions in the same way. So I hope that any of this is valuable. I know that I'm just, kind of going around and not really giving any committal answers, but I'm looking at the chat again. Someone asked if I can look at Polkadot too. And so I'll just be honest, when I look, I don't even know if I have Polkadot on my, I just dot. See, I had to search for Polkadot. This is not something that I have ever really held. Let's add it to my list here. So, I'm going to come back to my thesis, the kind of peak evolution thesis. Oops. And wowza, this is the heyday, huh? The data on this chart, this is Coinbase, so this only goes back to July of 2021. Polkadot is way down from the last cycle, like way down. Yeah, I mean, I lump this into, if I had a filing cabinet in my head, there's sort of like Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, ADA, like the top tens or whatever. And memes, I have that in a separate file. I keep that pretty close to the trash can. DOT and Chainlink and yeah, I'm looking at the side here with all the different things that at different points I've been looking at. I think they're really dependent on. This is just what I think, and I could be wrong, but I think it's just dependent on how and when the cycle shifts from Bitcoin being in focus to, all it takes, I think, for DOT to have its next moment and its next run up is for the powers that be, the powers that conspire to move these things, to be like, all right, let's pump DOT. And it just takes a few tweets. It just takes a few, articles, or I don't know what it takes to get something featured on the little Coinbase, top movers or whatever. But like those types of things can be enough to blow things out of a range. I have not been focused on this enough to really, this all just seems like such a small pattern to really be looking at. And we're not that much, so, okay, I'll try harder here. So I already know if I draw fib retracements from the last market cycle, like we're not even registering yet. If I go from here down to the bottom, which was about here, we're not even on the chart yet. And so, I don't know. But if we look a little bit more locally, and again, it's not about, or it shouldn't be about, catching these huge like 500x moves. I think the types of traders that I see be really successful are, well, they're not trading DOT, I don't think, just because like there's not enough patterns to really see confirmation. I'm thinking of things like Forex and other places where you can just you can know your patterns, you can just trade your patterns. With something like this, like let's just factor out the 2021 market cycle, and let's just look at kind of this as a local top, local bottom. So if we do that, what we could see is this is the sweet spot for structure and for support for going higher. And so if and when DOT kind of breaks up out of here, it would go to about the 1 and come back in here and back test through a lot of these levels before going back up. But here's the 1.618. That's where we're looking at Bitcoin's current move from the top of the last cycle is up to the 1.618. It takes a lot less to make a DOT move. That's faux show because it is a much smaller cap. And so again, a few tweets could have this thing, cooking all the way up into, the 3.618. So I don't know, to be honest, this is not my area of expertise, but I'm always willing to give it my best shot of just like, if I looked at this and I was thinking critically about it without knowing any of the news, any of the sentiment, any of the tweets, any of the fundamentals, just purely looking at the chart. I think if DOT is in that kind of overall rotation of the altiverse, that it is probably going to have its moment, but I couldn't tell you when. I couldn't tell you the magnitude. All right, y'all. I think I gotta shut her down. I was like, I'm gonna come on here and talk for like 20 minutes and just kind of share some ideas on the eve of Trump's inauguration, and I think it's been over an hour certainly. But for those of you that have stuck it out to the end, that's amazing. I will do one more plug of my art. go get some. You can go to ryanstoverprints.com and you can score a free print. And I will be personally printing it, cutting it, packaging it, writing your name on the label, and sending it to you. And I actually think that for this audience in particular, there might be some images that you think are pretty cool. Definitely kind of a different style. And it's been a whole experience of letting go of my perfectionism, letting go of my old image of self, and just each one of these paintings was a moment of letting it flow and embracing the present. So yeah, enjoy your long weekend as well, and hope that was helpful. Let me know in the comments what you got out of that. I will be back doing more regular live streams, and I have been debating, maybe you can help me out. I've been debating starting a separate channel. This is what people have told me since like day one, like starting a separate channel that's Ryan Stover Art, and doing my painting and philosophy live streams there, and then kind of saving this channel to do, every once in a while. Like, I'm really not interested in being a crypto analyst or doing this more often than like every few months, because I don't have any skin in the game. I'm just wishing well for everyone. But yeah, there's a problem with a TLS certificate on my website on ryanstoverprints.com. Cool. Thank you guys. I'm going to leave it there. I poured this little glass of wine thinking I was going to drink it throughout, but I guess I'll just drink it now, and I'm going to go home and go to bed. And I hope you all have a wonderful Martin Luther King Day, and I wish you the absolute best in all the days to come. And with that, I will find the button buried here somewhere to stop streaming.